You're listening to Woosox Insider, presented by your Worcester Red Sox.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Woosox Insider Podcast. As always, I am your host, TQ. He is your host, Chris Bergstrom, and our wonderful, handsome producer, Dylan McCaffrey. That's all you're getting today is the three of us back. We're going to have a fun little episode. Chris, you actually have some exciting news. Do you want to share that with our listeners as to why it's kind of just us this week?
Yes. So I'm still stuck on Decaf being handsome. Isn't
handsome.
He? I mean, look at that. You got a nice, look at that nice shirt you're wearing today.
Chris, I've been told before, you as a mascot aficionado, I've been told I have a face for mascotting.
Ooh.
That is true. So what big news are we sharing here? Is this
Chris got a haircut. No.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes,
he did,
very much
but...
so. All right.
Another small piece of news.
Why don't you break the news?
So Chris Bergstrom, while he is staying with the Woosox, working with our mascot department and staying on as a host for the Woosox Insider Podcast, has accepted a position with BJ's Wholesalers in their national marketing department. So we're very happy for you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. And I think we're even happier that we still get to see you around the ballpark, probably on some weekends, and still get to have you hosting the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Especially opening day. I plan on being there opening day and taking the kids to the ballpark, but I couldn't give up on this podcast. This is where it's at. So
it's getting legs, baby.
It is. I think
We're
so too.
going.
Especially like Steve Oliveira's episode. Like, whoa.
Chris, let me tell you,
fantastic.
My parents could care less that I'm on a podcast with the mascot aficionado for the Worcester Red Sox, but now that they know that I'm on a podcast with someone that works at BJ's that can get them maybe like a member discount, they're gonna lose their mind.
Oh, geez, I'm just here to make you happy. It's fine. I mean, and we also have some other breaking news, and
yes.
I think what we can do is, when we sit here, we talk about the fun bobbleheads we're going to do and what other promotions and stuff. I mean, once we're getting very close to baseball season, especially for the minor leagues and the start of minor league spring training that's going to be coming up here. And then what's going to happen is we're going to start to have baseball news that we can break, right? So with that, we've also lost 3 players that were part of Woosox 21. 2 of them actually go to the Phillies organization. And 1 goes to Detroit, but Josh Ockney, huh? Going.
One.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully he's with the Phillies. That would be the best thing. But I mean, we might see him here with Lehigh Valley. But in a short time, in a period where we were during the middle of a pandemic and the players really couldn't take part in many things. I mean, Ock he was all over the place.
Yeah, he was always active in the community, and that ranges back to when he got called up to AAA Pawtucket down in Rhode Island. He was always engaged with the local schools. He was signing autographs for everybody, trying to help out and spend his time in the community with some nonprofits. He's just a real stand-up guy. And I know our PA announcer, Ben DeCastro, is very torn up about it. So
that's what I would look forward to most games, sitting on the concourse. I was like, yeah, there it is. Yep. And if you haven't heard it before, I'm sure we can drop it in here too, right? Decaf?
Yeah.
So for people to hear.
We'll definitely drop one in right here, how Ben DeCastro introduces Josh Ockney when he comes up to the plate.
Overshift is on for the Mets. It's not going to matter because that ball is crushed. A country mile for the home run. Over the Worcester wall, the Woosox have their first lead at Polar Park.
That's a home run.
And it's Josh Ockney making a statement here in the opener. Wow, what a blast.
But in case you were wondering why, Ben and Josh actually have a really close relationship off the field. Ben, I know, admires Josh and thinks the world of him. They go out to breakfast sometimes. So he lost a friend in Josh Ockney going to Philadelphia. But opening day here at Polar Park, the home opener. We're playing the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. So there's a chance that he still hits at Polar Park on opening day.
And somebody else for Lehigh Valley could be hitting at Polar Park that same day also.
That's right. Gyro Munoz.
That's right. Yep. What was his hit streak? What somebody give me the number. 35 games, man. I mean, I don't even know. I could barely make it through 35 games there in a row just working. Never mind getting a hit every single one of those games.
The month of July, I just had my jaw on the floor. He couldn't get out.
It's crazy to think about as someone who played in the area, like in high school and was lucky enough to play in college. Our whole seasons in college would be like 32, 33 games. So to think that every single day you're just going up and getting at least one knock is wild to me. And that's still just like a fraction of the season too. But it was over a month. He just couldn't get out, which was incredible. He also had the first steal of home at Polar Park. Stole home on a pickoff play on a rainy day. So maybe we'll throw that highlight in there too.
Ribby. Yeah. And all the runs are earned against Crook. Runner takes off for the plate. Gyro Munoz is safe. He's stolen home on a pickoff throw. What a heads-up play by Munoz.
And the biggest, or not?
Yeah, that play has a great call on it, which gets to even better news. We talked about these guys moving on up. We had a few of our production crew get the call to the show this week. Adam Herbert and Dan Coomey, want to give shout outs to them for joining the Padres and the Twins. But big news for fans of Woosox baseball and Woosox baseball watchers on Nesson. Josh Mauer, after how many years in Pawtucket and in Worcester, has gotten the call. He's headed up to the majors, joining the Brewers on their radio broadcast. He had so many great calls this year, including the steal home from Gyro. It was awesome.
Yeah, and he'll be joining Jeff Levering over there, who is also a Pawsox broadcast alum. But yeah, we're so happy for Josh, especially he's going to be calling road games on the radio. And Bob Uecker, the incredible, renowned Hall of Fame broadcaster,
actor
Bob Uecker.
From
right,
Mr.
actor too.
Mr. Belvedere. Now I'm going way back there.
I think you're showing your age a little bit.
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean? He's a baseball announcer? No, he was known for Mr. Belvedere. Come on.
Yeah, but those are some pretty big shoes that he's stepping into, calling those road games on the radios for the Brewers. So we're really happy. And I think the last one to mention is our most valuable pitcher from last year, the guy who threw out the very first pitch at Polar Park, Raynel Espinal, joining the Detroit Tigers organization. So a lot of moving pieces are starting to happen, like you said, Chris, right leading up to opening day. So we're happy for everybody. We wish them all luck.
I want to make one more point on Josh Ockney because he's one of the most fascinating players I've ever gotten to watch, and I've gotten to watch him in person for so many years. I was keeping track the whole season of whether he would finish with more hits or more base on balls. No one has better plate discipline than Josh Ockney. At the end of the season, now he wasn't an everyday player for us in Worcester this year. At the end of the season, 66 hits, 62 walks. That's almost a 1-to-1 hit to walk ratio. His on base percentage is almost double his batting average. It's insane. He was third in AAA baseball in walks.
How many home runs? I mean, and of the 66 hits,
of those 66 hits, 15 were home runs. So almost 25% of his hits were home runs.
That's crazy.
Crazy. Yeah.
Did we mention Jack Lopez
as well?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, he went to Detroit. He's going to be with the Tigers organization too. Olympian,
silver medalist.
Yeah, he got called up to the Red Sox this year. He played in a big league game. So that's also, I mean, there's some core players there. And you can't forget about the broadcast booth that are going to the major leagues. Hopefully this year, but lead new organization.
Do you remember what the broadcast booth called Josh Ockney? Mr. 3-2. That man is always in a full count. Yeah. Loves getting deep in counts.
That's true too.
I like to call him Doc Ock. It was a nickname that I couldn't get to stick. I talked to him about it once. He said he saw it, he was okay with it, but wasn't a huge fan. I actually, now that I'm looking at Josh Ockney's stats right now, in 2019, He had more base on balls than hits. He had 82 walks and 77 hits, 25 of those being home runs. So 1/3 of his hits were home runs, and he had more walks than hits.
There was one point.
Like,
You'll
does he
never
even
see a
hit
ball
singles?
player like this ever.
I don't think
let's
he hits
see.
singles. It's like
He
doubles
had
or
25 home runs, 17 doubles, 2 triples. So I didn't take math at Emerson College, but that's 44 of his 77 hits were extra bases.
I remember there was one point in the 2019 season where I think it might have been Fangraphs or some baseball analytics website tweeted out the professional baseball leaders in walks. Number 1 was Mike Trout, obviously very feared hitter. And I think number 2 was Josh Ockney. I don't remember if that was season-long stats or midway point around the All-Star break, but he was just drawing walks. He's always been able to get on base.
He won our community award for this season, and whatever his MLB career turns out to be, he has got the rest of his life to be a hitting coach, because you can't, like, discipline like that is instilled, and if he could teach it to anyone else in the clubhouse, they're lucky to have him over there.
And when we talk about winning the community award, let's not forget that he came back to Worcester to do the caravan with us while he was a free agent. He wasn't even under contract with our organization.
Not only was he a free agent, but he was living down in Florida at the time. So he flew up into the cold here in Worcester and drove around with us all weekend in the holiday caravan.
Yeah. And it's really exciting for him too, because he's going home basically. If he gets called up to the Phillies, he'd be playing for his hometown team. So
it's incredible.
Yeah. So we wanted to bring up all those guys who are leaving us here at the Woosox, but going on to still have amazing careers. And then I think that for the rest of this episode, we just want to tell some of the fun, wacky stories that happen when you do end up working in sports, because you find yourself in positions that I think you never really believe you could be in. And I had one of those this year. I got to be the sideline reporter for a couple of games on Nesson.
That's right.
And
when you showed up that day, by the way, I'm like, why is he wearing a suit today?
Usually I'm in jeans, a pullover.
I'm like, what's going on? And then I flip on the TV and I'm like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, I look good. I look damn good, Chris. Thank you for
he did look good. It's a very rare occasion. First of all, that TQ puts on a suit. I don't know how many he even owns. Very rare occasion that TQ or I last season got to take a step out of the control room for a game. And so when he got to be on the call, we had a chance for him to be our sideline reporter for Nesson for a game. We have a great video from Pitching Ninja. But the first live drop that TQ ever had, I will never forget. I hope you either have completely repressed it or it's something you'll never forget, because it's underrated moment from the season. Maybe one of my favorites from the broadcast, and I'll treasure it forever.
So you guys have heard of the broadcast jinx before, right? Where a lot of times people think of it like with a no-hitter, a broadcaster will mention like, hey, whatever pitcher hasn't allowed a hit through 7 innings, and then the next pitch he lets up a hit. In my very first hit on Neston, I had an immediate broadcast jinx with perfect comedic timing. You couldn't have scripted anything better. Where I think it was Daniel Gossett, who's also a free agent right now. He had been lights out pitching at Polar Park. We're going into the bottom of the first. Josh Mauer tosses it down to me. I'm talking about how he pitches so much better here at Polar Park. He has a 4-something ERA on the road and a sub-2 ERA at home, even though everyone at the beginning of the year was saying Polar Park was a launching pad. Guys are going to hit 50 bombs every year if they play half their games here. And right when I toss it back up to the booth, he lets a fastball go, and it ended up leaving the park about 430 feet dead center.
What a pro.
Scoreless after 1. Well, it's Daniel Gossett who has pitched and really like a staff ace. One of the better starters in AAA East back to work. And for more on him, let's introduce you to the third member of our crew here tonight. It's Tim Quinidamo by the dugout. Hey, TQ.
Hey, Josh. Thanks. Daniel Gossett is absolutely pitching like an ace here at home this year. At Polar Park, he has a 3-0 record with a 2.63 ERA. and opponents are hitting a measly 2.05 against him, as opposed to on the road, Gossett has a 1-1 record with an ERA above 5. So the talk of the town early on with this new ballpark was that it is a launching pad. Daniel Gossett proving that wrong. Back to you guys.
Yeah, it's interesting. He deals with Mickey Moniak, who smashes one to center. Duran all the way back, and we will see you later. Home run, Moniak.
What
amazing. He waxes poetic for a minute about how great our pitcher is at home. Right back to you guys. Next pitch, home run. There's an uncut clip with TQ's face just from that one camera. You can't hear the broadcast audio. You see him finish his live shot, and he's still looking dead ahead. He hears the crack of the bat, stares at the camera for a few seconds, turns around, looks, and just turns back and puts his head down and laughs.
I couldn't look. So I had the earpiece in so I can hear all of the broadcast audio going on. And I'm talking to the guys up in the booth. And then right when I'm like smiling at the end of my hit, looking up at the camera, I can just hear the most piercing crack of the bat that I've ever heard in my life. It shook my bones. It rattled my soul. It was so loud. The ball was just perfectly barreled, and I wasn't looking at the field. I had my back to the field, and just by the crack of the bat, I knew. By the crack of the bat and what I was talking about, I just went, this ball is going to be so gone. So gone.
If there's any fans of Curb Your Enthusiasm out there, picture TQ looking at the ball, looking back at the screen, and then just bum, 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 just the worst you could imagine it.
So hopefully a lot of people are fans of the Curb theme song, because you might end up hearing that if an opposing player makes an error at Polar Park next season over the PA system. We're thinking of brainstorming some fun sound effects for opposing players, try to rattle them up a little bit.
My sitcom night idea didn't catch a lot of wind, but that's how we're going to sneak it in.
That's a great idea.
Right? I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. Maybe 2023.
Sorry, I don't have any pull anymore, so it's dead.
So Chris, I think you've teased about it for the last 2 or 3 episodes. Every time we've talked about promotions, what is your Matheny family story?
Oh,
what is the Tate Matheny story? We've been,
I think once per episode you've teased this story.
So Tate's dad, famously, not only a baseball player, but he's a manager, right? So At the time he was managing the St. Louis Cardinals. And the Red Sox just happened to be playing the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series. And if you've ever been to Fenway Park, there's no service level to Fenway Park. So anything that happens, if you're moving food, if you're moving garbage, the clubhouses, they're all on the same level that the fans are on. And the mascot room at Fenway happens to be right next to the visitors clubhouse. So over the years, I've gotten to know a lot of visiting players and managers and clubhouse staff, etc. So it just happened to be my night of running into Tate's dad just happens to be the night that the Red Sox won the World Series at Fenway Park in 2013. So here I am, with my best friend Wally, in the Wally suit, and I'm on the field when the Red Sox won the World Series. That was kind of fun too, That's
a story all by itself.
That's a story all on its own.
We'll circle back to that.
Yeah. So being on the field during the World Series and being there when the team won the World Series was pretty fantastic. But as I'm running around the field with this big flag, I said to myself, you know what? Screw it. I don't want Wally to be out here. I want Chris to be out here right now. So I'm like, it's time to go change, my man. So I'm running back to the mascot room down the hallway where the visitors clubhouse is.
With the world champions flag, right?
Yeah. Like we already had it ready to go and people say jinx. You have to prepare for anything. Baseball is going to make 2 sets of t-shirts. They're going to make 2 sets of hats. They're going to make 2 sets of everything because somebody's going to win and they just need to be prepared. It just doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
And I can tell you from experience, getting jinxed, not that bad.
Yeah, no.
Funny.
So here I am. I'm pumped. I'm running down the hallway and I'm like screaming. I'm like, yeah. And I get to the end of the hallway and I turn to my right because I noticed that there's people there. And I'm like, So I turn to my right and I look and there's Tate's dad a bunch of the Cardinals players sitting there watching this little television, drinking adult beverages, sobbing about the World Series that they had just lost. And here's the freaking mascot of the Red Sox, like celebrating in the hallway. So then I calm myself down. I quietly shut the door. 30 seconds later, boom, 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 boom on the mascot door. And I'm like, oh God. I open it up and it's one of my friends who happened to work for the team too. And he didn't notice what was going on behind him. And he goes, yeah. He's like, yeah, we just won the World Series. And then I point behind him and I'm like, Sam, right behind you. And he turns around and goes, oh yeah, sorry about that, guys. He just slams the door. So that's my Tate's dad story. And it's just like, but it's just funny, his reaction. He turns around, he's like, oh yeah, sorry guys. And he got busted in the room and he's shooting champagne everywhere. And these guys are out there just wondering, what they're going to do since they lost the World Series. But there's stories like that with Fenway Park being, like I said, a small area. I mean, during a rain delay once, I'm not going to get too deep into the story, but everybody knows Johann Santana. He was one of the most dominant pitchers of his time with the Twins. And when he was with the Twins during a rain delay, we had this long hallway in the back that kind of went between my room and the visitors clubhouse. So he was bored. So what does he do? He comes and knocks on the mascot room door and he goes, hey, you guys want to play wiffle ball? So here we are in the hallway playing wiffle ball. Johann Santana was pitching to us.
Oh my! Are you in the suit or are you?
No, I'm Chris.
Oh my gosh! You want to just hang with the mascot?
Can I tell you something?
Wow!
I have never seen a better wiffle ball player in my entire life. Like these balls were coming in hot, and they were going all over the place.
Was it the traditional?
Yeah, it was the traditional
wiffle ball, the yellow bat.
So here I go. I get up I'm gonna freaking knock the crap out of this ball. I get to stand up the bat. And I say, you know what? I have a slogan. If you're not cheating, you're not trying, right? So what do I try to do? I take a look down and try to pick up the sign that the catcher's throwing down.
Oh,
yeah.
If we're throwing signs in wiffle ball, it's already too late.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. Like he threw next ball was at my head.
Right.
So this guy, he brushed me back in a wiffle ball and then he struck me out. But I mean, this is during the time when he was winning Cy Young awards.
Right.
So it kind of shows the human side of baseball players too. Like people don't, to them, and they see them on the field, they're these celebrities, but they're also people.
I think about it as he's the opposite. He's just like a Terminator where he's striking guys out on the field. He walks off the field like, we're some employees I can embarrass with this wiffle ball.
A few years later, I saw him at a bar in Fort Myers because he actually lives in Fort Myers. And this is after he's retired. So I walk up to him. Yeah. So I walk up to him. I go, hey, you still got your wiffle ball skills? And he just laughs and starts drinking his drink again. And it's just stories like that. But just realizing that these guys are, I got to see a different side of players that other people don't get to see. I remember Mike Timberland once. I was on the field and Mike Timberland's walking out and he would always walk out to the bullpen with a cup of coffee. It did not matter if it was 110 degrees outside. This guy's got the hottest cup of coffee in his hand. And I remember this is always stuck in my mind with Mike Timberland because one of the little kids like, Mr. Timberland, can I have your autograph? And he just turns to the kid. He goes, I'll get you later. I got to go to work. And he just keeps walking all the way out to the bullpen. But it's just, it kind of shows you the stories behind. And I mean, I got other ones too that we can get into on other days. But I was just lucky enough that my hallway connected to the visitors clubhouse, and I was struck.
Yeah, what is the design? What is the design of Fenway Park that you're throwing the mascots right next to the visitors clubhouse? I mean, that World Series.
It's called find any place to put anything. It's literally find any place to put anything.
I'm picturing
they weren't thinking about where they were going to put the mascot room when they built the place in 1912.
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, right where the visitors clubhouse, where if you were to walk towards the third base and the concourse ends, there's a faux wall there that they put up. Right behind that is where the players are stretching before they go on the field. So you're walking up to your seat and you don't realize right behind that wall like that's where A-Rod would be all the time. So when I would go for pregame, A-Rod would be right there. He'd be taking up the whole hallway. And every time I'd have to dance around this stuff. And of course he would yell at me about it every single time. It was like his tradition when he came to Fenway Park was to yell at Chris walking by his stuff. So, but you don't realize how close you are to the action. Even the Red Sox clubhouse, when you're walking down the concourse and you see that clubhouse door right behind, that's the clubhouse. It's right there on the concourse. So just a little behind the scenes of Fenway Park.
I'm picturing in your World Series story. You remember when Stephon Diggs like stayed on the field to watch the championship celebration and was crying? I'm picturing, just imagine if a mascot just comes up and belly bumps him during the celebration while there's tears down his face. You just come storming into the clubhouse, cheering, Wally and all, in front of the whole Yankees.
Yeah, when we won the World Series in Los Angeles was a little bit better because Chris just got to be there. So no working today, just enjoying.
Yeah. So in that 2013 World Series story, did Wally kind of have the like sprinting back and then, oh snap, fast paced walk? And then I need to visually conceptualize Wally uncomfortably trying to run into the mascot room to change, but also acknowledge that these guys are hurting right now and he doesn't want to make too much of a ruckus.
And when you turn around, you're like, sorry, guys. Like. You still got this big smile on your face. Like, yeah, sorry, guys. Wah, wah, wah.
Amazing.
But at that point, you know what? I got a ring and they didn't. So at that point, I really didn't care.
Chris, I got to say that your stories are going to blow any stories that we could potentially have probably out of the water. I want to ask in that respect, you were around for a couple World Series. Of those 3 World Series, what was 4 World Series? Of those 4 World Series. Well, see, now I was going to ask what your favorite run was, but now if it was 07, 13, and 18, it would have been a contest. But
rank them.
Yeah.
So if I was a fan, I would go 04, 13, 18, 17. I mean,
correct answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
07. I mean, not 17. I was thinking I'm aging myself here. Like, so 07 would be the last one.
As
an employee of the Boston Red Sox, my favorite was 2018.
Why is that?
Because here's the deal. So when you make the playoffs, so you just imagine you work this entire baseball season that's long. It's so long.
I don't think we have to imagine that.
Yeah,
last year felt pretty long.
And you get to the playoffs and you just keep going. And at that point, when you get to the playoffs and you're just going on adrenaline at that point. And it's you're still going through, you're still going through the same habits and stuff that you go through on a game day. And I think what happened to me in the first 3 World Championships is I let it go by without thinking about it, and it went too fast. When we finally made it back in 2018, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to sit back and enjoy this one and enjoy every month and not say to myself, like, I'm so tired. Oh, it's just another game. And I hate to say that during the playoffs where you're like, oh, another game. But I mean, if you've never worked in sports before, like, I cannot explain how tired you are by mid-October.
We were having just watch parties at Polar Park into October, and I was exhausted working a watch party. So
but imagine also like when it gets to like the American League Championship Series, you're the show.
Yeah.
MLB is in there and they're running the whole show. So MLB, what people don't realize is during the playoffs, Major League Baseball comes in and takes over.
Yep.
So even the production part of it, what goes on the video broadcast.
Yep.
Everything, signage. So they come in and they take over parts of our office and it's their show and we're there to help them. It's exhausting.
Okay. Yeah, you have to pivot your whole plan from 162 games. And then
when you make it to the American League Championship Series and the World Series, fantastic. But then if you're on the East Coast, those games are almost at 9:00 at night.
Yeah.
Okay. So you really just go. So my whole thing with 2018 was like, I'm going to enjoy this. I've been here enough that I realize what's going on around me. There's a point working in sports, and I only can say this about baseball because it's the only where I felt it, where you can get to September, you can get to August, And just with the vibe in the clubhouse and the players, you can feel it. You're like, we've got something here.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing stopping this train. So in 2018, with the amount of regular season wins we had and such, we were rolling. And when it got to be August to September, like being there long enough and understanding what's going on, I'm like, we're gonna win the freaking World Series. Like you can just feel it.
So
and
you
that's
started enjoying it in
Correct.
October.
Because there's, I don't even know how to explain it. And, if you ask Charles Steinberg, Dr. Charles has a better way of saying things that I just can't come up with. So I mean,
we might
we'll
not
sure
have
to
that
ask him
time
someday.
though.
Yeah, I know that's the thing. But I'm telling you, August, September, if your team has it, you know it. Like you're like, let's go. In 2018, nobody was going to stop us.
So you're telling me that you had more fun going to Houston and Los Angeles in October than you did going to Detroit and St. Louis or Colorado or
Now, St. Louis was fun.
Cleveland.
Okay? St. Louis was fun, but I was
LA in October was your favorite?
I was standing on the mound at Dodger Stadium looking around, and I'm like, okay. And at that point I knew, like, I've been in baseball a long time, and I'm like, this is probably it, being in the spot, because I think we get spoiled around here where we've won so many championships, but the Red Sox, it could be another 40 years before they go to win a World Series, right?
Could be another 86.
Yeah. So like I actually stood on the mound at Dodger Stadium, looked around. I'm like, okay, this is pretty freaking cool.
Incredible.
And I enjoyed it at that time.
I'm
for
surprised
those who are starting in sports, remember to sit back every once in a while and be like, okay, this is pretty freaking cool.
I'm surprised you guys both said the 07 ranks last for you, because that was the first one where I was like a thinking, feeling human that knew what was going on. And that one's probably still my favorite. That's my first team I ever.
That was another team too that wasn't going to be denied.
Yeah.
But
right.
At 13 ranks above that to me, because 13 was so unexpected.
Yeah.
And it just meant so much.
It did. I mean,
everyone around
the
here. It
Boston
meant so much to the city.
But now let me ask the groups of guys, like apart from just like the entertainment of the success of the team, but like, did you have like a favorite group of guys that like loved the mascot, or any one guy in particular that was best friends with Wally?
Well, David.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to eventually ask about like the ESPN commercial, because we talked about that when you weren't here, but how many
times I had to drop those
David
tapes?
Ortiz.
Like that wasn't one take. That would like dropping the tapes. So we probably filmed that 100 times.
I hope everyone's seen this commercial, but it's the one on ESPN where David Ortiz tries on Jorge Posada's Yankees hat to break it in, and Wally drops by and drops all his tapes and freaks out, and David gets so mad at him. I can't believe that was you.
Like, Wally,
iconic.
Wally, it's not what you think. So the funny thing about that is, up until he retired, like anytime I was standing on the field next to him, be like, Wally, it's not what you think. So that carried for years after that. But David was great. Pedro, fantastic person.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about Pedro, in his retirement speech, he thanked Wally when we retired his number at Fenway Park, which I thought was, I'm like, oh, that might be the first time mascots ever got thanked in a retirement speech. Shane Victorino, not a nicer guy.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might not like this when I say this, but Joe Girardi, you can't find a nicer guy. Like, he was a fantastic guy. Derek Jeter was awesome.
I don't think anyone's going to deny you that.
Yeah, no, Derek Jeter was an awesome guy, but David ranks up there. I mean, he's just that personality, right?
All right. Well, I have one more question that as just an experienced mascot, I have to ask. Did you ever get any fights with other mascots? Like, have to defend your Fenway territory?
No, we're friends. They're the only other people who understand what you deal with on a nightly basis.
Maybe not there's fights, but any competitions, like any races?
Yeah. Tampa Bay. I mean, but the whole organization had that with Tampa Bay, right? I mean, what other time does another visiting team come into your ballpark and they complain about the music that we play when they take batting practice, and then we just play Barney music for them while they take BP?
Oh, I actually have a story from Pawtucket about that. So the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, AAA affiliate of the New York Yankees, came into McCoy Stadium in 2019, and I had just started to
to really take stride in like the in-game entertainment aspect. And we open the gates to season ticket holders during visitors BP. So we have our pregame playlist rolling. Season ticket holders are coming in, and a player who now is in Major League Baseball had a big boom box that he brought out of the clubhouse at maximum volume, playing explicit music while they were sitting around and stretching. And not only that, but he personally asked their broadcaster, their visiting radio broadcaster, to poke his head into our room in the production booth and ask kindly, which he did ask very kindly. He was so sweet about it, if we could turn our music off so they could continue to play their explicit music, as we have season ticket holders who have been ticket holders for years and years entering the ballpark, which
with their
the answer was
families
just
and-
no. But that just goes to show you how seriously these guys take every aspect.
Tampa
of
would do the
baseball.
same thing. So we would play organ music. That's just what we play during the time the visiting team would take batting practice, and they would bring their own boombox out. So then they complained about the organ music, and then I'm sitting there, I'm like, my God, are they playing the Barney song right now for the Rays while they're batting and taking batting practice? And they for sure were. So, but there's plenty of more stories for other episodes, but that kind of gives you a look behind the curtain there. So.
We had in Pawtucket a day where you could nominate what the opposing team's walk-up songs were. And like one of them was Barney, which is great. One of them was like the Avengers song with like Captain America enters in Infinity War. And I would have come up and hit the ball 500 feet if you played that for me to like get in my head.
That was a logistical nightmare at the time. We had a rotating cast of ballpark DJs. So it could be something that we potentially do in the future at Polar Park, but logistically speaking, it was brutal trying to get those walk-up songs from fans as they're walking in. Then they have to pick an opposing player, and then just figuring out where to start the song, when to play it. It was brutal. So maybe that's something that we could plan for a little bit better, and maybe implement that at Polar Park sometime soon.
TQ, do you have any more fun stories outside the control room for last year you can sneak in?
I think one of the best stories that you and I both have, Decaf, is after what ended up being the last game in Pawtucket. After the last game of the season, the front office, everybody just kind of has a little party afterwards to celebrate the success of the season. And in 2019, Cole Sturgeon hit that walk-off home run to send the Paw Sox off with the win. And we didn't know at the time that it would be the last game in Paw Sox history.
This is a great story to end on, because no one knows, but this is the last time that I ever worked a game at McCoy. This is the last time anyone worked a game at McCoy, and this is the last game at McCoy. None of us knew, but we made it last as long as we could that day.
It was the last time all the players were there and the front office was there as a team and organization, and not a single person knew that would be it. But we go down to the first baseline. We had the white barbecue tent area, and drinks are flowing. People are eating. We have this feast, and out of nowhere, it just starts absolutely pouring. Like, I mean, the tent area is getting flooded, like ankle deep water. So everyone's sitting up on benches and sitting up on picnic tables.
Thanks for the memories.
Was this before or after the football game?
This is before the football.
Yeah,
game.
You're right.
Because it was soaking wet for the football game. So we'll get to that. But it starts pouring. Dylan McCaffrey and Alex Richardson come up with a wild idea. Yeah.
So we have to take the opportunity. We didn't know it was our last time working a game at McCoy, but there was a feeling in the air. And the field, fair territory at a baseball field is sacred. You don't get to go and feel the grass during the season really at all, because it has to be kept fresh for the players and for when we have special events. But I had never gone onto the outfield at McCoy Stadium. It's the last game of the year. So in the pouring rainstorm, we decided, what the heck, let's have some fun here. Alex Richardson and I sprint out to deep center field, dive through all of the mud, lay on our backs, and do snow angels. Torrential downpour, McCoy Stadium outfield. It was a bucket list moment. Incredible. That wasn't even the best part of the day.
No, that wasn't the best part of the day. I will say one thing that blew me away about that day is that Mike Monaco, who another Pawsox broadcast alum, knows every single word to Lil Wayne's "A Milli," and we got to see it that day. So we couldn't record it, but he knew every single word and was just rapping along to "A Milli," and it was fantastic. And then the rain stopped, and blue skies came over McCoy Stadium once again. And then out from the clubhouse, football in hand, comes Mike Shawaran, who was a crowd favorite pitcher down in Pawtucket.
Crowd favorite in Pawtucket, made it all the way up to the majors in Boston, if people remember.
Yeah. He was
pretty
just
much
looking
no
to play
experience.
football.
I had no experience talking to players really for the season until that moment. I was involved in a couple of interviews, but for the most part,
They're just people.
Productions in the background. But this is my first chance, Chris. I have to make a good impression. And he brought up the football, which got us on the field again. And we got to play pickup football on the field at McCoy with Mike Shawaran throwing us touchdown passes after the final game ever at McCoy Stadium.
Who would have known to follow that as a pandemic?
Yeah. Wasn't throwing touchdown passes on me. Not if I was defending. No way. No way, no how.
Oh, man. Well,
yeah.
Don't give away all the stories, though. We still got about 170 more episodes to go this year.
Do you think there are 170 Mondays in a year, Chris?
It feels like it. Doesn't everybody feel like they have like 800 Mondays in a year?
No, I think you should maybe talk to somebody about that.
You know what? I hope we brighten people's Mondays. How about that?
No, absolutely.
A bright spot.
I look forward every Monday to hearing myself talk for an hour.
When I get my Apple podcast notification, I get excited and I already know what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So how about that?
I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm going to fess up. I'm going to come clean right now. I've never listened to like a published episode of Woosox Insider.
He just watches his Nesson debut over and over and over again because he was on TV.
Yeah. Oh man. Head over to the Worcester Red Sox YouTube channel. We'll include that clip in the video version of this podcast. But that was something.
Yeah.
That who knows? That could be it for me. I'd love to keep doing more of it, but that might be my claim to fame after I call it a career.
When you do call it a career, in 50 years,
I'm sure
you'll have many amazing moments, and we'll get to look back and say he had a Hall of Fame career. Let's look back at his first time on Nesson.
I'm pretty sure that we'll become desperate at some point in 2022, so you'll get another shot.
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
Short staff.
Fingers crossed that you all get to see more of Tim Quintadama this season.
Yeah. Speaking of short staffed, we just had our second annual Polar Park Job Fair, but if you missed it, that doesn't mean you don't have a chance. Head over to woosox.com. You can check out some employment opportunities. I know we're hiring a bunch of positions in the production department. So if you have experience as a videographer, camera operator, or you want to get in the control
coffee runner for TQ.
Oh, that would be fantastic. That might be in the budget this year.
We should get a barista for sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Guys, I'm available.
Weekends only now. So check it out at woosox.com. Of course, we also have single game tickets for April and May on sale now. We have 9-game mini plans, which are selling like hotcakes. The best way to enjoy at least one of our weekly promotions every night of the week.
And a bobblehead, we cannot tell you what it is. But it's fine.
But you'll go home with it regardless.
For anyone that gets stuck on these 9-game mini plans, it's like a mini season ticket package. You get 9 games, you get every single day of the week. It guarantees one of all of the promotions. If you're like a fan that doesn't want to commit to season tickets, don't want to just be buying single game ticket after single game ticket. This is perfect. I can't emphasize.
I'm not 100% sure they get a Monday. I don't know if we play on Mondays. Did you just falsely advertise the mini
every
plan?
day?
every day of the weekly promotions we have, which the
Let's
weekly
go.
promotions are Tuesday through Sunday. The
If you're
Tuesday
listening,
take
tip
Tuesdays.
rewind that 15 seconds. See if I misspoke. And if I
Damn,
did,
fine print. Fine print gets me every
yeah.
time.
Fine print, baby.
If I did, I'll
You
do
get
20
to
push-ups next
experience-
show.
You get to experience the Take Tuesdays, the Give a Wednesdays, the Woo Crew College Night Thursdays, Unibank Fireworks.
Wait
on
a second.
Fridays.
Woo you.
Woo you. Sorry. Woo
If we're
you
inviting the
college
Woo
nights.
crew to college nights, we're really going all in this year.
That might sell. Who knows? Oh, and then Saturdays and Sundays are Sunset Catch on the Field Saturdays. Sundays are Fallon Health Family Fun Day Sundays. It's going to be a great year. You get to run the bases presented by HP Hood after the game on Sundays. It's Woosox 22, boys. Always something cool and new. See you guys next time.